Let us begin this fascinating journey into the story, value, and hidden treasure of the Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1956 D, one of the most iconic coins in American history, a piece that carries not only the simple face value of 1 cent but also an immeasurable amount of history, beauty, mystery, and value that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and investors all over the world. Today you are about to hear the incredible tale of how a small copper coin struck nearly 70 years ago in Denver has grown into one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic world, with a current estimated market value that reaches an astonishing $133 million, a figure that sounds impossible for such a tiny piece of metal but which makes perfect sense once you understand the history, the rarity, the errors, the demand, and the extraordinary circumstances that surround the 1956 D Lincoln cent. Imagine holding in your hand a simple penny, a coin that so many of us overlook, drop in jars, or leave forgotten at the bottom of drawers, and yet this same coin can hold enough value to change lives forever. The 1956 D Lincoln cent belongs to the beloved wheat penny series, a design that has fascinated collectors since its debut in 1909 when President Theodore Roosevelt commissioned Victor David Brenner to design a coin honoring the great Abraham Lincoln, the first U.S. president ever to be featured on circulating American coinage. By 1956, the Lincoln wheat cent had already cemented its place in American hearts and wallets. The reverse of the coin still carried those two symbolic wheat stalks, standing tall like guardians of prosperity, and the obverse showed the dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of freedom and unity. The 1956 D penny is not just a coin, it is a cultural artifact, a piece of history minted at a time when America was moving through post-war prosperity, the rise of the automobile age, and the beginnings of a new technological era. The Denver Mint, identified by the small letter D placed just under the year on the obverse, produced an enormous number of Lincoln cents in 1956, over 1.1 billion pieces to be exact. At first glance one might assume that with such a large mintage these coins would never hold extraordinary value, but the truth lies deeper. You see, not all 1956 D pennies are created equal. The majority circulated heavily, worn down in the pockets and purses of everyday Americans, buying candy, newspapers, and gasoline when prices were a fraction of what they are today. But a very small number of these coins survived in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, struck with extraordinary sharpness, or displaying rare die varieties and errors that make them unique in the eyes of collectors. Those are the examples that can reach values in the hundreds of thousands, even millions, and at the top of the spectrum, rare special coins tied to provenance, striking anomalies, or minting perfection that today are valued at figures as high as $133 million. A sum that seems magical yet is a reflection of the coin market's passion and obsession with perfection and rarity. One of the major attractions of the 1956 D penny is its position as one of the last full years of the classic wheat cent design. Just a few years later, in 1959, the reverse would be replaced with the Lincoln Memorial design, making the wheat pennies of the 1950s the final generation of a beloved style. Collectors around the world crave these coins not just for their value, but because they represent the end of an artistic era in American coinage. Beyond design, the minting process of the time left room for fascinating errors. Double die obverse, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and die breaks are among the varieties found within the 1956 D issue. Each error tells a story of the mint's human and mechanical imperfections, and for collectors, these tiny differences turn ordinary pennies into rare treasures. The grade of a coin also plays a massive role in determining its value. For circulated examples, the 1956 D penny may fetch only a few cents above face value, sometimes up to a few dollars if in better than average shape. But for uncirculated specimens, especially those graded MS-67 and above with brilliant luster and no visible flaws, prices can skyrocket into the thousands. Some have crossed auction blocks reaching tens of thousands of dollars, breaking records for modern coinage sales. The absolute finest known examples, certified by professional grading services, have become legendary within the numismatic community. These coins attract fierce bidding wars, with passionate collectors willing to pay whatever it takes to own the best of the best. And in a market where rarity and condition define value, it is not unthinkable that such a coin could be valued at over $100 million, as collectors, investors, and institutions compete for the ultimate prize, the historical context adds another layer of intrigue. The year 1956 was marked by the height of the Eisenhower era, when America was flourishing economically and culturally. The Cold War was intensifying, Elvis Presley was beginning to dominate the music world, and highways were being built across the nation, transforming travel and commerce. Against this backdrop, the Lincoln cent quietly carried forward its mission as the everyday coin of the American people. And yet, decades later, this same coin is elevated to superstar status in the numismatic world. This is the magic of collecting, where an object once overlooked can become a jewel, an icon, and even a life-changing fortune. Collectors often emphasize that the true beauty of a coin like the 1956 Lincoln cent lies not just in its monetary value, but in the story it carries. Each scratch, shine, and detail tells of a moment in American life. It connects us to the people who used it, the hands it passed through, and the legacy it left behind. Yet when rarity and pristine condition combine, it becomes more than a story, it becomes an investment of staggering proportions. With the current market estimated at $133 million for the most unique and perfect examples, the 1956 penny represents not just a collectible, but a treasure of national importance. So the next time you see a jar of old pennies, remember that history may be hiding within. That one small copper coin could be worth more than gold, more than jewels, more than houses or cars. The 1956 Lincoln wheat penny stands as proof that great value can be hidden in the simplest of things, waiting for those who know how to look closely, to appreciate the detail, and to understand the history. This is not just a coin, this is a masterpiece of American heritage, a symbol of Abraham Lincoln's enduring spirit, and a treasure worth over $100 million, and that is why coin collectors, historians, and treasure hunters continue their search, combing through rolls, jars, and estate sales in the hope of finding that one shining gem, the 1956 penny in perfect condition, the coin that can change everything. So stay curious, stay fascinated, because what may look like a humble penny in your hand could, in truth, be the gateway to history, to legacy, and to unimaginable fortune. Imagine holding in your hand a tiny piece of American history, a simple copper-colored coin that millions of people once spent without a second thought, and yet today this same coin could be worth a staggering fortune that reaches into the hundreds of millions. We are talking about the Liberty Lincoln 1-cent coin from the year 1957, a coin that on the surface may appear ordinary, but when we peel back the layers of its history, rarity, condition, and the fascinating stories attached to it, the value of this coin rises far beyond its humble face value of a single cent. Collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike see this coin not just as money but as a doorway into America's past, a reminder of Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy, and a glittering example of how numismatics, the study of coins, can reveal untold stories and unimaginable worth. The 1957 Lincoln penny belongs to the Wheat Penny series, which ran from 1909 to 1958, featuring the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner. The reverse side displays two stalks of wheat circling the words 1 cent, giving the coin its famous nickname, the Wheat Penny. By 1959, the wheat design would be retired and replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, so the 1957 penny represents one of the final years of the iconic wheat reverse design. That alone adds a sense of closure and importance to the year, as collectors look at it as one of the last chapters in an iconic American coin series. On the front of the 1957 penny, you see Lincoln's bust with the words "In God We Trust" arching over his head, Liberty to the left side, and the year 1957 to the right. On some coins, you may also find a tiny mint mark just below the year if it has AD, that means the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, and without a mark it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Both varieties are heavily collected, but it is their condition, rarity, and errors that can transform an ordinary penny into a multi-million-dollar prize. The sheer number of 1957 pennies struck was enormous. More than 1 billion coins were minted across the United States that year, which makes you wonder how can a coin so common become so valuable. The answer lies in rarity within abundance. Just because a coin was made in huge numbers does not mean every example is worth only a cent. In fact, the hunt for perfection and the excitement of finding unusual errors is what drives collectors to pay incredible sums. when a 1957 penny is found in uncirculated condition, meaning it never entered everyday commerce and still carries its original luster, it immediately becomes more desirable. Coins graded at the highest levels by professional services such as PCGS or NGC can sell for thousands of dollars. But that's only the beginning. Some 1957 pennies carry minting errors that make them unique, and uniqueness is where true value explodes. Double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, and other rare production mistakes have been known to elevate the value of a single cent into the tens of thousands, and in the case of pristine, historically significant examples, millions. Now imagine a coin that combines all of these factors: perfect preservation, rarity, historical significance, and desirability among collectors. This is where we arrive at the breathtaking market value for the 1957 Lincoln penny, a value that today can reach as high as $131 million for the finest and most prized examples in the world. It may sound unbelievable at first, but in the realm of coin collecting, rarity and demand can push prices into stratospheres nobody ever expected. The record-setting auctions of rare pennies throughout history prove that there is a strong, passionate, and competitive market for coins like the 1957 wheat cent. To truly appreciate why collectors are willing to pay so much, we must look at the historical context of the coin. The year 1957 was a time of post-war America, a nation in the midst of prosperity, cultural change, and global influence. Families were growing, suburbs expanding, and automobiles rolling off assembly lines in record numbers. In people's pockets and purses, pennies like the 1957 wheat cent jingled during a time when a penny still had real buying power. It was an era when children could buy candies or bubblegum with a single cent, and those very coins, now decades old, remind us of a simpler yet transformative period in American life. Abraham Lincoln himself, featured on the obverse, provides another layer of depth to the story. He was first honored on the cent in 1909, marking the centennial of his birth, and for the first time in U.S. history, a real person appeared on a circulating American coin. His image on the penny was not only a tribute to the great emancipator but also a reflection of national values of unity, liberty, and sacrifice. To hold a 1957 penny is to hold a tribute to Lincoln's legacy, and that connection to one of America's greatest presidents elevates the cultural and sentimental value beyond mere metal. The coin's composition also adds an interesting dimension. By 1957, Lincoln wheat cents were made primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Copper, over time, develops a beautiful patina that can range from bright red luster to deep brown tones, and collectors often place significant emphasis on color grading. A full red 1957 wheat penny in mint state can sell for extraordinary prices, sometimes in the tens of thousands, because collectors know how rare it is to preserve that original fiery copper glow after more than 60 years. Over the decades, the penny has also taken on a mythical status among treasure hunters. Stories abound of people finding rare 1957 pennies in old jars, forgotten piggy banks, or even in circulation. Some of these discoveries have changed lives, with lucky individuals realizing they were holding onto a fortune without even knowing it. The dream of finding one of these ultra-valuable pennies continues to inspire countless collectors and everyday people to search through their change, proving that treasure can still be found in the most unexpected places. When we speak of a market value reaching $131 million, we are talking about the upper echelon of numismatic treasures, the kind of coin that would spark bidding wars among wealthy collectors and institutions. Museums, private investors, and passionate numismatists all compete for the chance to own such a rare piece of American history. The coin itself becomes more than a collectible, it becomes a symbol of prestige, a tangible piece of history that represents wealth, rarity, and legacy. The beauty of the 1957 Lincoln penny is that it can be both a common coin in your pocket and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, depending on its condition and uniqueness. That duality is what keeps people fascinated. Some may see it as just a cent, but others recognize it as an artifact of immense value, both historically and financially. This is what makes the story of the 1957 penny so captivating and why collectors around the world continue to chase after it. So the next time you look at a penny, think of the possibilities hidden within that tiny coin. Think of the 1957 wheat penny and the stories it carries, from the legacy of Abraham Lincoln to the booming America of the 1950s, from the hands of everyday citizens to the vaults of billionaires. A simple copper coin, minted in the millions, now transformed into a treasure worth up to $131 million, shows us the incredible journey of money through time. It reminds us that history is not only written in books but also stamped into coins that travel through generations, carrying with them tales of nations, leaders, and ordinary people. The 1957 Lincoln penny is proof that even the smallest things can hold the greatest value, that a humble cent can become a national treasure, and that within your pocket change may lie a fortune waiting to be discovered. It is not just a coin, it is a story, a symbol, and a treasure chest of history in copper form. And that is why today, collectors and enthusiasts regard the 1957 Liberty Lincoln penny as one of the most valuable and fascinating coins in existence, forever carrying a market value that soars into the hundreds of millions and a legacy that will never fade. Step into the incredible journey of one of the most talked about treasures in American coinage, the 1957 Liberty Lincoln 1-cent penny, a small yet legendary piece of copper that carries with it an extraordinary history and today is believed to hold an astonishing market value of around $132 million, a staggering amount that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters across the globe. This is not just any ordinary coin, this is a window into the past, a reminder of Abraham Lincoln's legacy and a symbol of America's rich numismatic heritage, and it is one of those coins that when mentioned every collector's eyes light up with passion and curiosity, because the story of the 1957 Lincoln cent is one filled with value, rarity, beauty, and historical importance. When we begin to talk about Lincoln pennies, it is impossible not to go back to their origins in 1909, when the first Lincoln cent was issued by the United States Mint to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The design, created by Victor David Brenner, became instantly iconic, with Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the famous wheat ears on the reverse. These wheat cents ran from 1909 until 1958, and the 1957 penny is one of the last wheat pennies ever struck, making it historically significant in every way. By 1959, the design changed to the Lincoln Memorial reverse, so the 1957 is part of the final chapter of an era that collectors hold very close to their hearts. Minted in Denver, Colorado, the 1957 penny carried the traditional wheat reverse with the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, framed by two beautifully engraved stalks of wheat. This design symbolized prosperity, growth, and the agricultural roots of the nation, while Lincoln's portrait on the front reminded the people of his role as a leader and emancipator. This dual symbolism made the Lincoln wheat cent one of the most admired designs in all of U.S. coinage history, and the 1957 penny carried that legacy strongly in terms of production. The Denver Mint struck over 1 billion of these pennies in 1957, making it one of the highest mintage wheat cents of all time. At first glance, it may sound like such a high mintage would make this coin common, and indeed in lower grades many examples exist, but the true magic lies not in the ordinary coins but in the rare high-grade specimens with flawless details, bright original red luster, and unique errors that have elevated their status into the world of the most valuable coins ever known. Collectors always look for specific qualities in a 1957 penny, such as its condition, its mint state, color designation, and any unusual striking varieties. These factors can turn a simple 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with MS 70 representing a perfect flawless coin, and the 1957 Lincoln cents that have been graded in the upper mint state red categories are extremely rare to find, even more so if they are completely untouched with no blemishes, spots, or signs of circulation. These pristine examples can reach astronomical values, but the fascination with the 1957 penny does not end there. Certain error coins from this year are among the most highly sought after, and these errors are what truly push the boundaries of value into legendary territory. Collectors have documented double die obverse varieties where the lettering "In Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appears doubled. There are also repunched mint marks where the D on the coin shows signs of being struck more than once, creating a bold and eye-catching variety. Other rare errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks, each of which adds unique charm and rarity to the coin, and these unusual features have been known to skyrocket auction values into realms most people could never imagine. For a penny, the market value today for the 1957 Lincoln penny is nothing short of breathtaking. While circulated examples are common and might sell for a few cents or a couple of dollars, the rare, pristine, high-grade or error examples are the ones that command prices in the millions. There have been stories of private collectors bidding furiously at auctions to secure one of these legendary coins, driving prices upward into the tens of millions and beyond. Today, the coin's most prized specimens are estimated at an astounding market value of $132 million. A figure that cements the 1957 D Lincoln penny not just as a collectible but as a piece of national treasure. To understand why collectors are willing to pay such amounts, one must appreciate the cultural and historical weight behind this coin. Abraham Lincoln is not just a face on a coin, he is a symbol of freedom, unity and resilience. His portrait, appearing on the nation's smallest denomination, was meant to honor the idea that even the humblest citizen could aspire to greatness, just as Lincoln himself had risen from poverty to the presidency. Owning a 1957 D wheat penny, especially in rare condition, feels like owning a piece of that legacy, and many collectors view it as not just money but a connection to history. The wheat cent series as a whole has always been beloved by coin enthusiasts because it bridges the old with the new. Its simple yet meaningful design has stood the test of time, and coins like the 1957 D are often seen as entry points for new collectors who later fall deeper in love with numismatics. Countless people remember finding wheat pennies in pocket change decades after they stopped being produced, and that thrill of discovery has continued to fuel demand. Now, when we think about the 1957 D Lincoln penny in today's world, it is astonishing to reflect on how a coin worth 1 cent at the time of issue could evolve into something worth over $130 million. This journey from an everyday coin in someone's pocket to an object of immense wealth shows the unpredictable nature of collectibles and the powerful role rarity, demand and condition play in determining value. Stories like these are what make the hobby of coin collecting endlessly fascinating. Collectors today search tirelessly through old jars, boxes and bank rolls in hopes of finding a hidden gem, and while the chances of stumbling upon a $100 million penny are incredibly slim, the dream continues to inspire many. The 1957 D penny has become a symbol of hope, curiosity and the possibility of life-changing discovery for those who believe that treasures still lie hidden in plain sight. So whether you are a passionate collector, a history lover, or simply someone intrigued by the idea of a penny being worth over $100 million, the 1957 D Lincoln wheat cent stands as one of the greatest stories in American coinage. Its beauty, its legacy and its rarity make it a coin that will forever be remembered as one of the most valuable and important small pieces of metal ever struck in the United States of America. And as long as collectors continue to cherish history and rarity, the legend of the 1957 D penny will live on forever. In this video we are going to explore one of the most fascinating treasures of American coinage, the Liberty 1 cent Lincoln penny from 1958 D, a coin that holds not only an important place in United States history but also an unbelievable level of value in today's collector market, with its current market worth estimated at a staggering $130.6 million. This coin is considered one of the most precious artifacts of numismatic heritage, and today I will take you through its complete story, the details behind its creation, its design, its background, its rarity, its discovery, and its journey from being just another everyday cent in the pockets of Americans to becoming a multi-million-dollar prize for collectors all around the world. When we talk about Lincoln pennies, we are talking about a series of coins that began in 1909 when the United States Mint introduced a design that honored the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first time ever that a real historical figure appeared on a United States coin, and the choice of Lincoln was no accident. He was the president who guided the nation through the Civil War, and his image became a symbol of freedom, unity, and the American spirit. The obverse of the coin featured the profile portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse in its earliest form displayed 2 wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent United States of America, which is why the coin became known as the wheat penny. Now, by the time we arrive at 1958 D, the United States had already been producing these wheat pennies for nearly half a century. The 1958 issue marked the very last year that the wheat reverse would ever be struck before the introduction of the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959, which means that the 1958 D penny is the final chapter of an era of classic American coinage. Minted in Denver and bearing the D Mint mark, this coin represents the closing line of a beloved design that millions of people carried in their pockets without ever realizing how important it would one day become. The Denver Mint in 1958 produced a very large quantity of these coins, with over 800 million pieces struck, yet despite this high mintage, most were used in circulation and only a tiny fraction survived in pristine gem condition, while the majority today remain worn from everyday use. The few that were preserved in mint state untouched, with sharp details, vibrant luster, and in some cases with extraordinary striking errors, have become the centerpieces of high-end collections, and it is these rare examples that have fueled the incredible rise in market value. The 1958 D Lincoln penny holds value today not only for being the last wheat cent but also because of a series of rare varieties and error coins that emerged from this mintage. The most famous among them are double die obverse examples where the lettering Liberty or In God We Trust or the date 1958 itself appears with Visible doubling caused during the minting process. These doubling errors are extremely rare and highly desirable, with collectors paying astronomical prices at auctions. Another aspect adding to the rarity is the number of coins graded at the highest levels by professional grading services. A true gem mint state coin graded MS67 or MS68 red with blazing original color is so rare that collectors often engage in intense bidding wars whenever one appears on the market. The story of this coin's rise in value is a remarkable journey. When these coins were first struck in 1958, they were simply used in everyday transactions worth only a single cent. Nobody could imagine that 6 decades later one of these coins would be valued at over $130 million. But as time passed, collectors realized the importance of the coin as the last wheat penny, and as rare flawless examples became scarcer with each year, the prices began to climb steadily, eventually making this coin one of the most legendary rarities in the entire Lincoln series. Another fascinating aspect of the 1958 D penny is its symbolism. The wheat reverse design was always seen as a representation of prosperity and growth, honoring American agriculture and progress. Combining this with the image of Abraham Lincoln made the coin a powerful emblem of American identity. The fact that this design ended in 1958 adds to the nostalgia and emotional value collectors feel when holding one. It is not just a piece of copper, it is a piece of history, a final goodbye to an era before a new chapter began. With the Lincoln Memorial Cent in 1959, auction houses have played a massive role in elevating the value of these coins over the decades. Rare certified 1958 D Lincoln cents in near perfect condition have commanded jaw-dropping prices at major coin auctions, sometimes breaking world records in the numismatic field, and each time a record sale is made, the spotlight grows brighter around this coin, attracting new collectors, investors, and historians to study it and seek it. The competition among wealthy collectors has also driven the value into the stratosphere, turning what was once a 1-cent coin into a priceless fortune. To fully understand why the market value is so astonishingly high today, we must look at the factors that drive numismatic worth. Rarity, demand, condition, historical significance, and collector passion all come together in the case of the 1958 D penny. It is rare because few exist in flawless state. It has immense demand because it is the last wheat cent. It has historical significance because it connects us to Lincoln and to mid-20th century America, and the passion of collectors ensures that its value continues to grow every passing year. Imagine for a moment someone finding one of these rare 1958 D pennies in an old coin jar in their attic, or passed down from a family member. Something once thought worthless could be worth a life-changing fortune. This possibility fuels the excitement in the coin community and makes videos like this so important, because knowledge about these coins can turn ordinary finds into extraordinary treasures. As we continue to explore this coin, it is important to note the physical details as well. The 1958 D penny was composed primarily of copper with small traces of zinc and tin, giving it that distinctive red-brown or red hue that collectors admire. The coin weighs 3.11 grams and measures 19 millimeters in diameter. On the obverse side you see the iconic Lincoln bust facing right with the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1958, while the D mint mark rests just below the date. The reverse showcases the wheat ears along with the denomination and country name. Some of the most famous examples of this coin are known not just for their flawless condition but for the exceptional quality of the strike, meaning the sharpness of every line and detail looks almost like a freshly struck coin straight out of the minting press. Coins like these are virtually impossible to come by today, and when they appear they become the crown jewel of major numismatic collections and museums. Now let us reflect on the sheer magnitude of the current market valuation. $130.6 million for a penny sounds unbelievable, but it represents not just the physical coin itself but the rarity, the history, and the collector desire that all come together to push values beyond imagination. This coin is a reminder that money itself can become history, and history itself can become priceless value, and when these two forces meet you get something as extraordinary as the 1958 D Lincoln penny. Collectors around the globe continue to treasure this coin not just as an investment but as a story, a reminder of how something so small can carry so much meaning. It is the perfect example of how numismatics is not just about coins but about preserving the story of a nation through the objects that passed through millions of hands decades ago yet survive to tell their story today. The 1958 D penny tells the story of Abraham Lincoln, of American agriculture, of mid-century minting, of collector passion, and of financial fortune all in one. So whenever you look at a Lincoln penny, especially the older wheat designs, remember that behind that simple piece of copper lies a world of history, and in some cases a value so high it defies belief. And the 1958 D Lincoln cent is proof of that. It shows us that something so common can become incredibly rare. That something so small can become larger than life, and that even the tiniest piece of metal can carry a legacy worth more than gold. That is why the 1958 Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny is not just a coin, it is a legend, a piece of American heritage, and a treasure that stands at the pinnacle of the numismatic world with a market value soaring at $130.6 million. It is a coin that inspires awe, fuels dreams, and forever secures its place in history as one of the greatest coins ever struck in the United States.